Hi everyone, welcome back to the Stay Hungry podcast. Today we're talking about making better content and we've got a special guest for you, Liam O'Neill. Liam, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. I feel like that epic intro music means I have to up my game now immediately.
Yeah, it's like wrestling entrance music. That's my thoughts
Nice.
on it.
I like it.
Although someone has told me it sounds a bit like what's the Hugh Jackman film with the
The Greatest Showman.
yeah.
It's great. So I'm with you on both. I'm happy to be a wrestler or a Greatest Showman. I'm
Okay,
there.
cool deal. So, for the benefit of our listeners, just give us an outline of who you are and what you do, please.
So my name is Liam O'Neill, and online I'm known as the Prove It Guy. And mostly what I do at the minute is help coaches improve their social media presence by making better reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, that sort of thing. So just improving the content.
Nice. And that's not what you've always done, right?
No, this is well, I have done it on the background. I enjoyed editing, and I used editing as a relaxing time from working with depression, suicide, anxiety, all that sort of stuff. So I've been coaching for about 20 years. I worked out, even though I claimed to be 21 the whole time.
Yeah.
About 20 years I've been coaching, and I always said if I didn't wake up and love what I was doing, I would make changes. So I've evolved throughout the years, and then this just came up and I decided that this is the way that I wanted to go. And thankfully, it wasn't just a pie in the sky idea. The coaches that I work with are getting like their views are 10x, and
Yeah.
even yesterday I was chatting to one who was saying the ads are doing far better off the back of my videos rather than what they had been doing. So thankfully it worked. It wasn't just I'll try that and see what happens. I had been developing the skills for the last I think I started YouTube 13 years ago, so I did all my own editing, recording, everything, and I've worked for different companies, coaches, schools. I've helped people start programs and loads of stuff. So it's kind of always been there, but it's never been a focus.
Mm,
And now it is, and I love it.
nice. That's exciting. So, how did you get to this point then to sort of obviously you ran a business where you help people with mental health difficulties and mindset issues, and now here you are helping coaches with videos.
Yeah, it does seem whenever you compartmentalize it, it seems like a strange thing. But my coaching style was always I want to help people. So I actually moved a few years back. I moved from just doing one-to-one coaching to doing coaching for coaches.
Hmm.
And then on the side of that, I did a lot of corporate training as well, as a sideline, just with public speaking and stuff. Because I figured there's only a certain amount of people that I can reach myself. But if
Mm,
I start to help coaches deliver their message better, to speak on stage, to speak on camera, and to do all of that, then I'm going to be partially helping their clients as well.
mm,
So there might be someone that would go to you that would never come to me, but something you learn from me really helps them. So I feel part of it. So doing it's why I didn't just decide to do like ads for cars or anything like that. I decided to work with coaches. So if the coach is delivering a good message and I'm able to get that message out to more people, then I feel I'm still doing the thing that I wanted to do, which was help everyone.
yeah,
So I can't help everyone on my own. So I feel this is a good platform for me to do it.
that's
So that
amazing.
was sort of the mind shift into it.
Yeah, and I guess like in terms of helping people, what do you mean? Because our motto as a business is help people and have fun. So it's really interesting that you say this.
So the Prove It guy came from I started doing martial arts when I was 16.
Hmm.
Moved over to London, became a martial arts instructor, went through a whole lot of madness, lived on rice and red sauce. People tried to mug me. There was loads of things that should have stopped me doing it, but I was so focused on my goal and I just kept going. And I noticed quickly when I started to do stuff that people would say, yeah, but it's all right for you because you're special. Or you've got there's something about you. Like I did a lot of spiritual stuff as well, and people would say, "Ah, but you're very spiritual. You have a gift." And I used to always say, "I don't have a gift." I've like because it annoyed me. I was like, "If you knew how much work I put into this, like
Mm,
it looks like a gift Like when I edit something that looks like a gift, people, God, you're just born with that. But because it's edited, they never would think that. They think, oh, you must have put a lot of work into that. So the prove it guy came out of, if you give me the time, I can prove to you that you can be superhuman as well. You can be awesome. So it's not just me. Anybody can learn this. And throughout my life, like I used my martial arts skills as a performing magician. And then from the magician stuff, I ended up being a consultant for TV and web series as a magician, because again, people thought I had a special gift and then I would be able to teach it to you. So the Prove It Guy came from that. So I want to help people to live the life that they, when people set a goal and they visualize this amazing life,
Mm,
but when you really break the goal down, say if the amazing life's at 10, they're really aiming for like 6. They really believe they can get to 6. And you're like,
yeah.
well, what's the point in visualizing 10? I want I get slagged by my clients for doing this because it's something to do with Friends. I've never watched Friends, but this, I always say this is real life, and then I build an awesome version of myself, and then I meet it, and then I just keep getting better and better. So my 10 in a year will be a 5. So I need a new 10. So my goal is just to prove to people and to teach people that they can do and be whatever they want in life. And I think I do that by the way I live my life and some of the experiences that I've had throughout my life as well.
So there's a lot to unpick there. Um,
Yeah,
the the first one, how the hell does someone your age get through life having not watched Friends?
because you become super obsessed with becoming Jackie Chan. So all you do is watch Jackie Chan movies. I'm a terrible drawer, but this is before YouTube days. I would draw out, I'd pause the scene on a VHS and draw the position that he was in, and then play, pause, and draw the next. And then I would spend all day trying to mimic what he was doing. So you don't really have time for TV shows. I used to work in a bar and I'd have secret workouts all over the bar so I could get my extra training in during it. So obsessed about martial arts is the reason why back then I knew nothing about any pulp culture, anything like
Yeah.
any of it. I was like, I do martial arts. What else? That's it.
So, which martial arts did you do?
So I started off with a Tiger and Korean Kung Fu and Swan Yung Tai Chi. And then I studied Wing Chun with another master. I studied MMA, wrestling with an American coach. And then I did like control and restraint stuff with another specialist. So my
Right.
main focus was the Shaolin Kung Fu. And then I just took it from there. Because I
Yeah.
wanted to learn all the iron shirt training, all of the, like, if you watched my TED talk, you'll see me get kicked in the balls by my brother, who is delighted by it. And then I break a chopstick with my throat and all this madness. And that was what I wanted to learn because I figured that's how I would get to become the next Jackie Chan.
Yeah, yeah. So, you see, you keep dropping things in. So,
I
how did the TED talk come about?
found out there was a TED talk happening in my town, and I contacted everybody that I could. And eventually, someone agreed to let me do it. And I hired a vocal coach because being from Oma, we have a tendency to not talk with our jaw.
Hmm.
We kind of talk like this here and nothing really happens, and the most exciting thing ever, and it's the worst thing ever, and there's no
I got
change.
you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No projection.
Yeah. So I hired a vocal coach, flew over to London for a day, trained with Marika for a day so I could deliver the thing. And then I got a guy who actually helped me with my book as well, Ian Rowland. I got him to help me with my speech. And we just got in the middle of the speech. I break a chopstick, I get kicked in the groin. I wanted mine to stand out. So people were like, I did a magic trick, all of it. So people were like, that's, I want people to feel when I speak, not just to watch and go, oh, that was cool. I want them to, like, when you get kicked in the balls in front of people, they feel it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
my actual favorite bit of the whole talk is my brother coming up. My brother doesn't do any of this stuff. He's just has a regular job and just. But he comes onto stage in a packed room as if he's going to the shop. And I work with people getting confidence to go on stage, and I use it as an example. I'd be like, "Watch this guy, never been on stage, walks on, how's it going?" Kicks me in the bag, walks back off. He's going. I'm like, he doesn't know there's a, such a thing as stage fright. So because he doesn't know it, it doesn't happen. But because most people know, oh, I should be nervous. You're like, no, you shouldn't. You should be excited, but you don't have to be nervous.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
my favorite part of the talk.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Right. Where next? So, magician. How does someone who's obsessed with martial arts end up becoming a magician?
One of the other instructors called Steve Shackleton. Uh, we were having a wee gathering after one of the tournaments and stuff that we had, and he put a 10p into a sealed can of Diet Coke right in front of me. And my obsessive brain was like, that was the best thing I've ever seen in my life. So it took me 3 weeks to convince him to teach me anything. And then he taught me how to run one card off a deck at a time, thinking I would give up. And a couple of weeks after that, I agreed then to teach me some stuff. And then I suppose just the it's weird because I was not good at school. Like I was told never to come back near the building. Whenever fifth year was over, they're like, don't even come back. You're not allowed back to the building. It all got turned around. I'm the only person from my class they've ever hired back to the school to teach stuff. But when I left, I hadn't read a book, I hadn't studied, didn't do anything. But when I found things that I loved, like martial arts and then like magic, that was all I did. Like even girlfriends, when I was learning magic, used to get really annoyed because they'd go to hold my hand when we were walking somewhere and there'd be like a card or a coin or something in my hand that I was practicing something the whole time. So, same as with the martial arts, with setting up wee things in the bar, I always tried to incorporate it all into my life so that I'm not taking an hour out. I become a magician, I become a martial artist, I become a video. Everything now I see is video editing. Everything I see, I'm like, that'd make a cool shot. If that doesn't, like everything now, and I watch
Yeah.
videos and think, how can I fix that? How would that be better? So I think it just an obsessive nature.
My
That's
my wife hates that. So, I'm a graphic designer by trade, and if we're like watching the opening credits of a movie, and I'm like, oh, that choice of typeface is a bit rough.
yeah,
She's just like, shut up. So,
yeah. You're not really suspending belief here.
yeah, yeah. Oh, well, they could have at least used a cleaner font and just
Yeah, but I think people like us get that. When you tell me that story, I'm like, yeah, I get it.
yeah,
I get that because you've put so much work into it, and then you just watch it and go, 5 extra minutes would have made that 100 times better. Like
mm,
just tweaking that a wee bit, but not normal people, but people that don't obsess over detail just go, what do you, why, how did that even, how do you even care? How do you even notice that that was, I didn't even notice there was font. I just seen words. You're like, oh, I
yeah.
forgot.
So this would be an interesting one for our audience. If you obsess over detail, which I do, so I understand what that can do to you psychologically.
Mhm.
How have you coached people with things like anxiety and depression, where obsession is not necessarily a good thing?
It's directing, changing the direction of the obsession
Mhm.
because, so the easiest way to describe it is I will ask the client, have you a good imagination? And they'll say no. And the reason that they say no, especially with anxiety, you'll say no because you can't focus.
Mm. But they can
But
imagine all the things that could go wrong. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which means they can focus. You can focus on how bad it's going to turn out.
Mm,
So what we do is teach you how to center that focus and go, well, let's change it. So I have a thing in the book called the recognize describe technique
mm,
or the RD trick. And it's you recognize the sensation. Oh, I feel this anxiety is happening. I feel the stress. But most people then just let it on. I can't go anywhere with this now. That's it. That's me. This is this tidal wave is about to hit. Whereas if you go, right, I feel that, I know what it's like. That's because I'm about to do a podcast. And when I do that, I get a bit nervous.
mm.
But I've never freaked out on the podcast. And when the podcast is over, I always feel really good about doing it. So just rationalizing it to yourself. It's one, interrupting the pattern of, I can't remember if I can curse in this or not, but going,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
so most people go, oh goodness, everything's fucked. You're like, there has to be an in between from oh goodness to everything's fucked. How did you get there? Don't know. I'm like, well, let's break it down. Let's go. How did you feel just before everything's fucked? Anxious and stressed, right? How did you feel just before anxious and stressed? Were you anxious first or stressed first? Uh, Anxious, I think. Do you notice you're already calming down? Actually, a wee. And then they get anxious again because you pointed it out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And then you pull that back. So the recognizing, describing it. So it's understanding that you have an imagination. So it's saying I've been using for a long time. You can imagine whatever you want. Why not imagine something amazing instead of imagining everything going to shit and you hating life? So the fact that I am more detail oriented than a normal person, normal, whatever normal is.
Sure.
So I'm able to pick up on the words. I love linguistics and how people move, body language, all of that. If you see me on stage do magic, that's what I use: body language, linguistics, all of that. So I will say to them, "You said you felt sort of tired. So do you mean?" But just before that, you said you felt exhausted. So exhausted and sort of tired aren't the same to me. What do they mean to you? And then they go, "Oh well, exhausted feels like this, and sort of tired's like this." I'm like, all right, so which one was it? Well, actually, that time I felt sort of tired. Right, so let's go that direction. So it's just about directing the focus, the imagination, instead of letting it like run wild. So for listeners now, if all the listeners were seated in their house now, listen to this going, this is amazing. These two guys are the best people I've ever heard in my life, which is most likely what's happening.
I did think that sounded very likely, yeah.
Yeah. If someone runs into your house and says, "Is that your blue Golf?" and you go, "Yeah," and they go, "The back window smashed," you'd be like, "Fuck's sake," and your body would react, and you'd get up and you'd run outside, and you'd be sweaty and annoyed and angry, and then I'd be like, "Ha ha, it's not even smashed," and you'd be like, "Oh, you're a dickhead," and then you calm back down. So you reacted exactly as if your window's smashed. You imagined the money it's going to cost you, the hassle, if it rains, everything, your body reacted to what you were thinking. So if you can do that and it's completely imagined, what would it be like if you just imagined awesomeness instead?
Yeah, it's
So
really interesting, isn't it? That, and this is a hard one for people. And I know we haven't even got to talking about content yet, but it's really apparent for business owners, especially business owners that have to take a lot of risks and have to take calculated risks, that a lot of those feelings and the bad feelings are choice. So,
yeah,
so the example you've just used, what was hurting them was their reaction, not the smashed window on the car.
yeah,
And we've all met those people who, when bad things happen, it just kind of rolls over them. They're like, "Well, I'm insured; it's fine."
yeah, yeah,
So, in a business context, then, and I guess I call it possibility thinking. So it's where obviously you have to be aware of the risks and dangers in business.
mm,
It's your responsibility to, but you shouldn't be focused on them. You need to, if you can't visualize what you're trying to achieve, you're not going to achieve it.
yeah. It's it's like whenever you're learning to drive and you don't want to hit the curb and your instructor keeps going, I just turn out a wee bit there. And you're like, don't
Yeah,
hit the curb. And they're like, just you move. Wherever your focus is, you will guide yourself that way. You will bring that into your awareness and then you'll start moving towards it. So I fully agree. You need to be aware of the what could possibly go wrong. And what's a great wee add on then is to go, right, the worst case scenario is this doesn't work. So this is what I went through whenever I decided to make a jump to video editing instead of coaching what I was doing. Worst case scenario is I get no clients. I burn through all the money that I have. Someone comes and takes my car because I can't afford it. I have to walk everywhere and I have to like pull back on the adventures that I have.
mm,
Am I comfortable with that because of what I want to achieve? Yeah. So then I go, well, I don't have anything to worry about. The worst case scenario that can happen here is something I'm comfortable with. If it was something I wasn't comfortable with, then I'd have to re-question. Maybe I need to keep the coaching and do the editing on the side until I build it up instead of throwing everything away and going at one.
do you think, And this is an interesting business dilemma then. Do you think in that scenario where you've decided you're not comfortable enough to make the transition, do you think having one foot in each side would be more harmful than good?
Not if not if you still are focused on where you're going. So whenever I was becoming Jackie Chan, I had to pay for all my training. So I did 80 hours a week in a bar, working in two bars in a nightclub.
Mm,
So one of the bars owned a nightclub, and I would open one in the morning and close one at night. And I very rarely slept. Eating was on the job. Everything was a nightmare. But I knew that this would get me to where I want to go. So every time I sat down and thought, I'm just going to quit. What is the point?
yeah.
I knew the point then. My goal would flash in and it would go, well, the point is all of this. And I go, oh, so I can put up with a year in a bar doing 80 hours a week, hating, like, I don't drink and never have and hated everything about the bar. So I was like, I can put up with that because I know where this is going to take me. If you don't believe that the business is going to work and you start two and you've one foot in one and one foot in the other, eventually the one that's more secure will pull you away and you'll procrastinate and then you'll start blaming external factor. Oh, that I knew that wasn't going to work, like climate changing and like wars and everything. That was like people don't want videos because they can now just talk and do it and there's
Mm,
auto captions on Instagram. There's auto captions on loads of stuff and I have directed loads of people to it that don't want to hire me. I'm like, well, just do this then. You can do it. It's just, to me, it's putting time where you don't necessarily need to put time. But if the business isn't running well enough that you can afford to outsource it, then you have to do it. So in every business, you're going to have your foot in one part that you could eventually outsource anyway.
mm,
So it's having that understanding that I am doing this. I'm living on rice and red sauce because at the end of this year, I'll be an Iron Shirt affiliate. I'll be the only one in the country, in my country, that has this. So if anyone wants to learn it, they have to come to me. That's worth it. That's worth hating life and eating because it's not forever. But if I don't see the big picture and I can't hold on to it, I would just get sucked back into, I could just go work in a bar. It's easy money. It's an easy job. I'm good at it. There's no risk. It's a job for life. Like how many people listening to this started their own business and were told by someone who loves them, I'm just telling you this because I love you, but this is stupid. You've got a comfortable job forever, and this is a business that'll never ever go away. And you're giving it up to start your own dream of a podcast, a company,
I
whatever.
reckon I get told that at least once a week now, and
Well,
I'm 11 years in, so
yeah.
it's, I mean, I had a fun conversation with my grandma today actually, and she said, "Are you back from Glasgow yet?" And I said, "Well, I've been to London and Birmingham since then, Nan." She's like, "Oh, you work too much. Why don't you just get a normal job?"
Yeah. And again, it's people that are really close to you and that are saying it out of love, but it's because they don't know. Like I not liked, but liked when all the pubs and all closed down. The people that had always said to me, "You should go and get a real job. You should go back to what you were doing. That's there forever." I'm like, "Is it?" Because
Mm,
all the pubs I used to work in are all shut now. I'm still working, doing what I'm doing. It's still going. So nothing is really secure. You can have fake security in something you hate, or you can have fake security in something you love that you can turn into something that's passionate, successful, everything. So for me, if you're one foot in and one foot out, know your end goal. Mine's is always up in that corner. I'm very visual, so when I look, I see it. So
mm.
up in that corner, know it. So whenever you're struggling and it's hard and it's difficult, and you just want to give up, you just go, "Oh, that's going to be awesome." The fact that I can go to Glasgow and Birmingham and London as part of my work, like,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like
yeah,
I grew up in a environment where going to London was like a really big deal. Like that's massive. Like you're going to London, Jesus, you're going to visit the Queen, that kind of.
yeah,
And so like I've never let myself lose the thrill of that because
oh yeah, yeah,
it it's I don't want to take it for granted. It's unfortunate. It's fun. Um, with this being the Stay Hungry podcast, obviously some of the things we're covering here are very much about that hunger, and
Mhm.
something I struggle with, which you'll probably have some insight on, is I don't really like being comfortable. I think I do until I am, and that's when things start to go wrong. Discuss.
So my question would be, are you uncomfortable being comfortable? Or are you afraid of the foundation falling from under you, your feet being pulled from under you?
I think I deliberately make things slightly uncomfortable for myself to help drive myself forward.
Yeah. So that's usually a learnt. We learn that as we become entrepreneurs because you have to do everything. Everything is uncomfortable.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
giving up a solid job. You're dealing with family members telling you to get a real job. You're dealing with complete uncertainty. So at some point, you have to get to the point, and I did this for myself. I just sat down and I have a best friend conversation with myself. I visualize a version of me in front, and I imagine they're my best friend. So how would I speak to my best friend? Because generally we speak to ourselves very harshly.
sure.
We go, I'm a bit nervous, and you go, shut up, nervous, just get it done. You know what you're doing, move on. But if your best friend was like, I'm a bit nervous, you'd be like, really? How does that make you feel? What way is it making you nervous? How do you react? I've watched you overcome more, like would be really nice.
Mm,
So I would sit down and go, because as entrepreneurs, we talk about self-belief. But what does that actually mean? So if you believe in your ability to make this amazing company, to smash all the expectations of your customers, then there's no reason for discomfort to drive you. Again, it's the to drive me that's where I would find issue with it for myself. It's like having, like we both talked about journaling on my podcast, which everybody should listen to that version so they can find out about your moose hunt. But we talked about journaling. Journaling's great until it gets to the point where you have to journal in the morning or your day's fucked. I
sure.
need my morning routine or my day's fucked. And like, well, that's not very good. What if you wake up and you can't journal because there's a crisis or something? Are you going to be like, well, you just sit there. I know you're about to have a baby, but hold it in for a couple minutes. I do maybe journal here, or the day's going to be like, it has to be something that elevates your life. So if you have to be driven by discomfort, what's the point in doing what you love if you purposely make it uncomfortable? So then we sit down and have the best friend conversation. And I would ask you, if we were doing the best friend conversation, doing what you do, how do you feel doing it?
Right. Yeah, yeah. So I'd be like, well, yeah, I'm really excited about getting out of bed every day because I love what I do.
Right. What do you hate doing in general? What's something that you would hate to have to do? Like, do you go to the gym or anything like that?
I do go to the gym. I hate cardio.
Right. So, no, the bulk bike, the one
Yeah,
that
yeah.
boys in CrossFit. So, imagine if I said you every morning you're going to get up, you're going to jump on that for 7 minutes, flat out, and then you get to do what you love. How would you feel about that?
I don't think I'd be too pleased.
Yeah. Because why would you? It's something you don't want to do, and it's uncomfortable, and then it's going to ruin the waking up in the morning and excited because it's going to kill that. So you're doing that to a point yourself. You're going, this is very comfortable. I need to self-sabotage this in some way and then fix it. So I need to light a couple fires and then put them out so that I feel like I'm like, when we start as entrepreneurs, we're flat out busy everywhere. We're all over the place, putting out fires, everything. And then as we get better, like when I first started editing my own videos, it probably took me like 3 hours to do something I can do now in half an hour.
Mm,
So if I wasn't comfortable doing that and understanding that I've progressed and got better, I would start to mess with things up. I'd start to sabotage. I need to be busy. I need to be,
yeah.
because it's just a pattern that you've learned. So you unlearn it by having conversations. Why? So then I would ask you, why would you want to be uncomfortable doing something you love?
So, okay. And this is where it gets really interesting because I'm a firm believer that there's no growth in your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Um, So I deliberately take myself outside of my comfort zone in various ways. It might be financially, it might be in the gym, it might be at work, it might be with my friends. So to use the gym example, I spent a year perfecting my deadlift just because it was an incredibly uncomfortable thing to do, but the reward on the other side was massive.
Yeah.
Um,
So then, so then again, your focus isn't on the discomfort. Your focus is on the reward.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So that's will come out in the best friend conversation. Well, why are you doing deadlift for a year? It's mental. Well, I know after that, like for me, learning martial arts, getting into a cage or like going on a lay tie or fighting with people that are heavier than me, that are more experienced. It's not just a thing that I can use in martial arts. It builds my resilience, my mental toughness, my
Yeah,
consistency. Like when I was doing stuff with clients recently, I was saying to them about, imagine if you went to the gym and you built all these muscles, but you couldn't carry in your own shopping from the car because you thought, well, my muscles are for the gym and I don't have shopping muscles, so I'm just gonna have to take one thing at a time. It would make zero sense. Like I was talking about confidence and people saying they've none.
yeah,
I'm like, who dressed you? I dressed myself. How? Could you do that again tomorrow? Obviously. Also, you have confidence. It's just not everywhere. You just, why do you leave that? Why do you say you have none when you have, if I took your shoes off and threw them across the room, could you put them on and tie them again? Obviously. Well, then you're confident you could do that. So let's use that somewhere else. So it's different if you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone rather than making yourself uncomfortable in your comfort zone, if that makes sense.
yes, yeah. Love that, love that. So
I,
yeah, I watch a lot of people, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners to this will see it maybe in their partners or their friends who sit in discomfort within their comfort zone,
yeah,
and that blows my mind because I know that the fix is to be as equally uncomfortable outside of their comfort zone, but then their comfort zone will become an incredibly comforting place.
yeah. I used to say to my clients, I would love for you to stay in your comfort zone for the rest of your life if it's actually comfortable.
Mm,
If it's not comfortable, then we don't want to be there. Like you wouldn't sit in a room full of beds and nails when you could get cushions. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
but sort of on a loose level and without going too dark. It's like people who've suffered an awful lot of abuse often end up in abusive relationships because it's what they know.
Yeah, it's patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. Right, we better talk about some content because we've gone deep. Um,
Content.
so why is content important to the average business owner?
It's now how people find you. People don't walk into your store anymore. They don't they Google it. Actually now most people TikTok it. Like I think TikTok's starting to, it's either the second now at this point, but TikTok and YouTube, and even that has changed where they're not just they're literally typing in how do I make better content?
Yeah,
Like that's like sentences now. So it's how people are going to connect with you. The problem that I notice a lot of people having is I'll have a conversation like this with people, and then the first video they send me, I end up having to text them, be like, "Who's this?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Who is this person with this accent and this like overactive body language? That's not who I spoke to for an hour." Oh, I thought that's what you need to do. And you're like, that's why you keep fucking up because you keep thinking you need to be somebody else. You just be yourself on the screen
yeah.
and then that. So it's helping build the community. So like, and I would push people, no matter what you do in business, like you're posting your business stuff, your podcast, but also life. Because I might say if I need a baker, for example, if I think right, I need a baker to make me a cake for my birthday. I have to buy my own cake. That's a bit sad, but we'll go with it. So buy my own cake for my birthday.
Martial arts cake.
Yeah, a martial arts cake. I'm most likely going to go to the baker that I saw on my Instagram at the gym. over the one that just posts cake, cake, cake. I'm like, oh, that person, I'm going to remember the gym person because when I see it, I'll go, oh, they go to the gym as well. I love the gym. If they do martial arts, they're winning completely. Then I'm like, I'm in, let's go.
Mm.
So you're building the community and the know, like, and trust. So people will come to you. So it makes it easier to sell your services. Because again, a lot of people struggle selling their services, even though they know. Like my first question when people say that, I have real difficulty on sales calls. Well, is your stuff shit? And I'm like, no, it's amazing. And if people used it, it would incredibly fix their life or improve their life or whatever. I'm like, then you're actually doing someone a favor by letting them know this
Yeah.
solution exists. So, like, unless you're trying to rip somebody off, but if you are, then you won't care anyway, so it won't matter. But um, I think it's important because that is now that's the newspaper now. It's the flyers, all the stuff. It's the billboards, everything. It's online is where people are getting everything. Like,
Yeah, it's really interesting what you say there. So we encourage our clients to attract like-minded people, which
mhm.
is a strange way to niche your audience. But what it means is well, the gym's a good example. We do it with my business partner Andy with Star Trek. So some of our ads run to people that must also be interested in Star Trek, which
That's awesome.
feels like nothing to do with marketing. But then when they get chatting to Andy on a sales call and he drops in a quote from Star Trek, like
Yeah,
magic happens. Suddenly they're like, "Oh, you're like me," and suddenly they go in completely off on a tangent, and that know, like, and trust starts to build. And
mhm.
that's exactly what you're saying with content is, and you know, you'll know our brand. We have our company that puts out various content, and then we have our personal channels that puts out different content. But the purpose being that we want people to understand the people behind the business. It's no
Yeah,
use just chucking out famous quotes every day.
yeah. And again, that became the lazy way. We have to use social media now. Just do whatever. Get the intern to put out a million posts by Tony Robbins or something. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whenever I used to do the corporate training, I used to go in and I would meet the bosses, the owners, like the CEOs, everything. And I would always say, and who are you? And they're like, I'm like, I should know you. And like, I'm the boss. I'm like, all right. Because on your social media, I've never seen you. I've never seen a picture. I don't know anything about any of you people. Well, I'm in charge of this, and this. I'm like, yeah, that's a video. What you just did to me, your wee elevator pitch or
Mm,
your explanation of who you are, that's your video. Like, and that's what I would always say to coaches every so often. And for some reason, coaches seem to think they have to reinvent the wheel the whole time. Everything has to be brand new or a copy of someone that's got loads of views.
mm.
But every so often, just jumping on and saying something like, "Hey, it's Liam for all you new followers. I am super awesome. These are the 6 things that I do that makes me great. And this week, I actually, nothing to do with what I just did. This week, I actually went and climbed a mountain.
Yeah,
And then we throw away easy content, throw away move. But I see that and I go, oh, he does video editing and he does this and he fixes that. I love mountain climbing. I wonder if he was my coach. Like I worked with a client and we set up his whole company was he took people on retreats. He did like mindset training with people, men, and we ended up just doing it where he took them up mountains for a walk and talk because that's what he loved doing and that's the type of people he was attracting because he was always posting about being up mountains. So I was like, let's just make this your business.
a hiking mindset business. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so whenever whenever you start to do that and show who you are as a person, know, like, and trust makes everything easier within your business.
Mm.
I'm more likely to share what you do with people that I think will be a fit for you because I trust in what you do as a business, but I know when they go on, you're going to be dead on and easy to talk to instead of like it being they see like a inspirational, amazing quote, and then they come on and the guy's not very articulate
Yeah.
or inspirational. And you're like, there's something not right here, or like I've asked people, and who's Remy again? I seen it. What do you mean? I saw a quote RUMI or something. Remy, what was it? And they go, well, geez, I don't know. Hey, that's just something one of the lads puts out. I don't know. And you're like, well, that's the point is to attract people to you, and you're putting stuff out there that you don't even know. So like it'd be me putting stuff out about dogs, and then you say, "Oh, I've got an amazing dog," and you name a dog, and I'm like, I don't know anything about dogs. I just people like them, so I thought it would be like, what's the point?
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly that. I mean, the way I carry on, I probably don't attract many cat people, but that's fine. It's what it is. Andy's got cats; it's fine. He can cover the cat people. So
Having that balance, just yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, what's next with your business now? You keep looking up at the top corner. I really want to ask you what that vision
What's
is.
up there?
What's the goal? Yeah.
Um, my goal, and it's starting to happen a lot quicker than I was expecting, so I need to actually have a conversation with our mutual friend. But my goal is to have a
That
company
sounded
that
so
I,
shady. That's
yeah,
we both
I
work
want
with.
people to be reaching out.
Yeah,
So that's the thing. When you make content, you want to be a bit mysterious as well.
yeah. I need to have
People
a
that
chat
aren't
with
are
our
only
mutual.
listening, they can't see me doing a mysterious dance. But
I used to be a
um,
musician.
I want to have a company that again can reach more people than I can do on my own. So I want to have people that I train to edit how I edit.
Mm,
I don't care what anyone says, and I was talking to a client about this the other day. If you go the cheap option for what I do, and there is many, whatever you send them, they will edit and send you back. So if the content looks terrible, that's what it's going to look like. They'll edit it, the captions and all the stuff that you can get. You can go to different websites to get it done for you.
yeah,
If the
yeah,
audio is bad, it doesn't matter. They will just do it. Whereas when you send it to me, like I fix the audio, I fix the color if it needs color grade. I want it to be like if it was mine, what would I want it to look like? So I fix everything, and even if I think, again, because I love linguistics, if I think it's not flowing well, I'll pull bits from the end and put it in the middle and switch it all about to make a nice, coherent statement. So I want to train people to do it the way I do it, so there's no shortcuts in it. So like I've
yeah,
been asked all the time, why don't you just use CapCut? It's faster. And you're like, yep, dude, you do CapCut, I'll do mine, and we'll see
yeah,
which one you
yeah,
prefer in the end. Um, and then I would like to get so that would free me up to have more time to coach people in their content, which I didn't really vision doing, but since I've started doing this, that has been
a
because
big
I'm
part.
trained for speaking on stage and trained to speak into camera and everything. It just becomes a big thing. I didn't realize that how many people just don't know how to do it.
Yeah,
So that will be where I see it having a company, people that edit like me, so you would never tell it's not me just doing the edit. Without just outsourcing it and having it come back spell mistakes and mess ups and things, and then go back to working with people on this is you tell me what your company's like, and I'll help you create your ability to create content, if that makes sense.
yeah. Remind me. This isn't really podcast content, but suck it up, listeners. Remind me. A friend of mine is an actor presenter who is about to launch a business coaching people how to talk to camera, and you and him need to have a chat. So,
Cool. I will remind you. But that was something I did. That was one of the biggest things that hit me whenever lockdown happened. I was teaching people how to talk on stage, how to use a stage, how to actually physically own the room, how to do Z scans, all of that. And then again, that was a job that would never ever end. And then all of a sudden it didn't exist anymore. You're like, oh, now people need to do this to camera. But even getting people that I was working with to go to camera, it's not the same. And you're like, yes, it's not the same, but it's what you have at your disposal at the minute. So let's just like work with that and then you can build. But I am happy to chat with anyone, listeners, anyone that has any questions on video and stage, any of that stuff, just reach out to me. And
what's the best way to reach out to you?
I am on everything as uh content. What am I now? Videos for coaches. That's what I am now. doing content, videos for coaches, or you'll find me as the prove it guy as well. But I just reach out to me. I'm omnipresent, as they say.
Wicked.
Um,
So I've got two more questions for you, and I ask every guest these questions.
cool.
So, what's the best mistake you've ever made?
The best mistake I've ever made, probably like going into the martial art world the way I went into it. Like I
Mhm.
went in with no plan, no. I had a dream that was so unrealistic. Like I didn't want to be like Jackie Chan. I wanted to be Jackie Chan. Like that was, I wanted to be in movies. I wanted to do all this stuff. And I gave up everything. I gave up a job that was really good, which had potential. I gave up girlfriend at the time, family life, everything. And when I got there, I didn't know what you needed to have money to live when you moved away from your home. I didn't know that.
Hmm.
So I went there, I had no money. I bought a big thing of rice and I stole red sauce from McDonald's and like lived in rice and red sauce for months. Like it was a nightmare. Um, but that's what got me to everywhere. So I don't know if that's a normal mistake, but the mistake was no re like if I had done some research, that would have been a whole lot easier than blind going into it already in debt.
Do you think you'd be where you are now if you'd done it the normal way?
I think I would be still working in the pubs. I know the guys, I see them, I chat to them. There's still people in the pubs I worked in that are there in the pub. I
Yeah.
know I've other people that we like I started martial arts with people. People started with me and didn't stick at it. So I think I would be working in a bar, most likely married to someone I hate and just living it
Yeah, it's
like
interesting, isn't it? I started my business with £5 in my pocket, and I often think, oh, if I'd have had a budget, I could have grown this much quicker, but I wouldn't
yeah.
have. I wouldn't have. I'd have
Yeah.
been too comfortable. So,
You would have
right.
just burned it out. You wouldn't have known what you were doing anyway. So you would have
Yeah, yeah,
you the way I looked at it was I had nothing and I would have spent if you had to give me 10 grand told me to do it, I would have spent it all. It's the knowledge and research I have now that if you put me back there now and said, go and do this, I'm like, I'm gonna smash this. This is gonna be no
mm,
bother. But if you put me back there with just exact same knowledge and a load of money, I'd be more fucked because I'd have spent all of that and still be trying to pay that back. And
yeah, yeah. And I think
yeah.
sometimes, like now, I'm very comfortable in paying other people who've got expertise that I don't have
Mhm.
because I've got a base of knowledge. Where I
Yeah.
think if you start a business and you just pay other people to do everything for you, you're in quite a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
Um,
That'll happen with the editing too. Is people come to me and they don't have a clue, so I try to teach them some stuff. I'm like, you're setting yourself up for failure there when you go. I just want you to do that. I don't care. I don't want to look at it. And you're like, all right, it took me 8 hours to do that one video. That's 8 times the price. All right, no bother, sure, because you don't have a clue. But the more you learn about all of this, the easier it is to like create better systems and to be less
yeah,
likely to be ripped off and stuff. So,
yeah. Like we've got clients coming on board now who are very informed in marketing.
mhm.
So when we take a successful campaign that was running at £6 a lead and get it down to £3 a lead, they appreciate it way more.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, last question. Last question. What's your favorite film and why?
Drunken Master.
Oh, okay.
Surprise! uh, Drunken Master 1 and 2, I suppose, but one was Drunken Master was the first martial arts movie I ever really saw. I had a friend called Andy Kelly that loved Kung Fu, and I mentioned Bruce Lee. I'd seen a bit of a Bruce Lee movie and was like, "Oh, I saw a bit of a Bruce Lee," and he was like, "Watch this." And I watched it, I think 13 times in a week. And I just practiced and tried the stuff. And I was like, this, like, that was the start. That was me, like,
It's a
You're not
gateway
getting
drug.
this. Yeah, I was like, you're not getting this tape back. This is mine now. I'm keeping it. And what I really loved about it is you could tell that Jackie Chan was doing all his own stunts. And it's something I think when I think back now, I never really, I think I'm having this premise, like this is just dawning on me now. But I've always said to people, I will never ask you to do anything I wouldn't do myself. And that was his sort of philosophy. Well, if I can do it, I'll do it. I'd never get, if I'm afraid of doing, I remember in an interview him saying it, if I was afraid to do the stunt, there was no way I was going to ask somebody else to do it. So then I would do it myself. And now when I think of it, that's probably where that came from. And like, I know I'm just about to drop something in here, but I ended up on Ninja Warrior because a client of mine wanted to audition, but didn't want to audition on his own. So I was like, fucking, I'll go. And I auditioned for Ninja Warrior and ended up
On the
on
show.
it. Yeah, falling in the water. And went there injured with a torn scapula and was like, I can do this. I could not do it. But so that movie is my favorite movie.
TED Talks, Ninja Warrior, magician,
Author, podcast host,
podcast host, barman, martial artist.
pole dancing champion.
That's not true, that one, is it?
No, it is true. There's footage. I am 3-time Irish bronze medalist in pole dancing.
How many people took part?
The first ever one I did was 5 of us. The second one was 3 of us. 2 of them owned their own studio, and I had literally only agreed about a week before to do it. And the last time I did it, I think there was about 7, and I agreed to do it as a birthday present for a friend. And I was like, I'll do.
Is this a male pole dancing championships or a mixed pole dancing
No,
championship?
it was mixed, so there's male and female there, but I was in the male category.
Oh, so they did have a category, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually compared the world's pole dancing championships when it came to Belfast last year or the year before. So,
of course you did. Of course you did. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I thought we were wrapping up. I've got 100 more questions. Maybe we'll save how the hell did you compare the World Pole Dancing Championships for another time.
Yeah, cool.
Liam, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. It was fun chatting.
You've been listening to the Stay Hungry podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share, leave us a review. I'll love you forever. Visit andyandjoel.com if you want to know more about our coaching. We'd love to hear from you. Take care, everyone.